Good afternoon to everyone joining us on the East Coast. Good morning to those from the West Coast. Thank you so much for taking the time today to join us for our webinar on Omnivore version 3.3 and what is new with FFmpeg Convert. My name is Larry Compton. I'm digital media expert for Ocean Systems. I'll be your presenter, joined by Charles Guarino, our Vice President. Charles will be helping me with questions throughout the webinar, and at the end we'll set aside some time for questions and answers. If you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, in your control panel you'll find questions panel. You'll want to pop that panel out. You can expose or expand that window and submit questions throughout the webinar, and we'll try and address those. Charles will try and address them during the webinar, and then again at the end we'll try to get those questions answered. So if you have any questions, please submit them through the questions panel. We look forward to helping you with those. Let's get right to the meat and potatoes, and that is Omnivore version 3.3, a free software update to all of our customers currently in support as of July 1st, 2019. And it is a major update. Version 3.3 will require your drive to be repartitioned. So that means that all of the data should be backed up from your unsecure partition and your secure partition prior to doing the update process. This is detailed in an FAQ we have, as well as a brief video that goes over that process. And let me just pull that page up and I will show you. Where did it go? There it is. So there's our website with the Omnivore page. So if you go to Solutions, Omnivore, that'll bring up our Omnivore product page where you have all your options for purchasing, renewing, support, and upgrading. Down below is our tabbed interface, and you'll see a tab for FAQs. Under the FAQs tab is our Omnivore v3.3 update process instructions. Here is a step-by-step overview of applying the update. Note that you should back up all data because we're going to repartition that drive. We also have a video for you of that entire process that you can watch, so you can go through this brief video, about 3.5 minutes. We'll walk you through that exact process as well. What are some of the new features in Omnivore version 3.3? Everything new in 3.3 is related to Omnivore Viewer's FFmpeg Convert. We've introduced the ability to preview files with FFplay, save and interrogate media with FFprobe, so you can get container and streams reports, the XML sample and frame analysis report, and we even included our own FFmpeg XML Viewer, so when you're out in the field, you don't need Microsoft Excel or another spreadsheet program to parse that XML file. We've updated and improved batch processing, added the ability to export audio, trim video, change dimensions and correct aspect ratio, change output frame rate, and more. So a lot of additions to Omnivore's FFmpeg Convert, essentially turning this into a very powerful field tool for both in the field and in the office, investigative processing and forensic processing. Of course, FFmpeg is the engine. Those not familiar with FFmpeg, it has been around since about 2000, developed for Linux, is now considered the leading multimedia framework. And it contains, of course, multiple executable files and other open source software libraries. It's important to understand that it is comprised of several different libraries and projects and can be compiled in many different ways. One of the things, if you're not familiar, that we highly recommend reviewing if you're new to FFmpeg or even an experienced user, is the Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence, SWIGDE, swigde.org. Their technical notes on FFmpeg provide a real good general understanding of FFmpeg and leveraging it in a Windows environment, as well as commonly used FFmpeg video tasks and commands and things of that nature. So we highly recommend that you review that particular document whether you're new or have been leveraging FFmpeg for years. With all of that said, let's talk and get right into the interface of the Omnivore update. So I'm going to minimize my screen here and get back to my desktop. You can see I have my Omnivore drive plugged in, already updated to version 3.3, so my ROM partition. You'll see a few new files on this ROM partition, including our FFmpeg XML Viewer. And inside helpers, you'll find the actual FFmpeg, FFplay, and FFprobe executables. So if you're an advanced user, you can leverage command line that way as well. Of course, when we insert the Omnivore drive, it mounts our ROM partition and our unsecured partition. Our unsecured partition showing my preferences where it's saved because I'm showing hidden files. But if we wanted to mount our secured partition, remember it's as simple as opening the Omnivore interface, coming down to the lock icon, and entering the password, the default admin password, to mount that password protected secured partition. And now you can see my secure partition has been mounted. To unmount, I can simply unlock to unmount that partition. Now, it's important to understand that we've also, of course, updated our help file. So I want to take a quick minute to show you some changes there. On the help, we've got the release notes, links for checking for software updates and things of that nature. But, of course, the product guide in and of itself is included a whole new section on FFmpeg Convert, providing you detailed step-by-step processes for leveraging this in your workflows. So FFmpeg Convert, everybody is used to Omnivore Viewer, the freely distributable viewer, which I can drag and drop and save a copy right on my desktop. But if we're launching from anywhere other than the drive itself, we will not have FFmpeg Convert capabilities. So if I try to file open an Omnivore Viewer, we'll notice that if I'm not running it from the drive, I can only open Omnivore files, OMV and OMVA files. If, however, I'm running Omnivore Viewer from the drive, well, now we have FFmpeg Convert capabilities. So we can go File, Open, and we'll see supported files by default, which is Omnivore, OMV, and OMVA, as well as all FFmpeg supported files. So we can browse to files and open them that way. So if I come down and do some sample media, maybe grab a file, I can simply open it to get to my FFmpeg Convert interface. New in the interface, obviously our FFmpeg information up top, including disclaimers regarding the engine behind this car, links to the license as well as static builds and the actual source code for FFmpeg and the FFmpeg project. And you'll notice grayed out here, because this particular file doesn't have audio, new audio options for exporting out audio, the new reporting options for interrogating your media, a container and streams report, as well as our XML frame analysis, sample analysis report. You'll notice we've updated the change dimension feature, and we're using bilinear when we do resizing through FFmpeg Convert. We can change the output frame rate, and we can also trim video files now. So in this particular version, we've provided the ability to see some basic information about your file, as well as a thumbnail, the video. Clicking the thumbnail simply brings up FFplay and allows the video to play for you. So this typical AVI from a CCTV system plays back fine. Now remember the limitations of FFplay itself. For those familiar, FFplay really should be just considered a previewer when previewing your files, and there's a number of reasons for that, but it is very handy. You'll see when I'm playing a file from FFplay, the FFplay shortcuts are displayed in the interface, so I can use the space bar to pause, use the S key to step forward frames, so on and so forth. So all the FFplay shortcuts are shown for you right within the interface when we leverage the FFplay through FFmpeg Convert. Let's talk a little bit about other ways of launching. So we know we can do the file open method. We can go file open, but we can also drag files. So if I bring that folder of sample media files, you'll see I have standard MP4s. I have a Samsung.sec file from a Samsung digital CCTV system. I have an AVR file from an EverFocus system, a 264 file from a Night Owl system, and cell phone video, etc. Let's take a quick look at a small file just to demonstrate some of the capabilities here. And I'm going to close some windows, get them out of your way. Close my Omnivore window and just get right to the FFmpeg Convert interface. You can see this file does have audio. We have the WAV and MP3 options now highlighted. And if I wanted to simply extract the audio from this file, I can do that. With audio included in the file, we'll have it displayed when playing back the video file, when processing individual files. So you'll see that audio waveform representation as well. So let's do that. Let's take a quick moment to run a report. We want to interrogate our media. What is it? So I'm just going to select FFprobe container and streams. Then I'm going to come down here and tell it where I want to save that report. I'm going to browse to my exports folder, select that folder. You'll see it's going to give my report the file name, prefix of the original file name, and then place it into this folder. So I'll just click OK, let FFmpeg process that. And once it does, it'll open that file in your text editor. And so we have all of our stream metadata extracted from FFprobe for stream number 0. Then we have our stream 1, which is the audio from that particular file. And then our format metadata as well. So a great way to quickly interrogate multimedia and save those reports. But oh yeah, we can also save this entire log. So we can come down and click Save Log. And this is the entire output displayed when processing with FFmpeg. So if we go back and take a look at that log now, it'll show all of the details, bring it over to my other screen, from that particular process. So the version leveraged of Omnivore Viewer, the FFmpeg version information, all of the library version information, and the task that was performed. Here's the actual commands applied through FFmpeg, as well as the output from FFmpeg, all saved within your log file. So the only way that I'm aware of that quickly and easily documents FFmpeg's output for you is that log file feature. A lot of customers have been very, very happy to see that. In addition to the log file and the ability to extract WAV, we can now do things like select multiple options to process multiple things simultaneously. So maybe I want to extract the audio as uncompressed PCM. And maybe I also want to extract and convert it to MP3 audio. I can simply select those options, click OK, and once it completes, it'll open the folder, and there's my MP3 file, as well as my uncompressed WAV PCM. And of course, we can then save our log so that all of those commands are saved, and the actual output from FFmpeg as well. So multiple selections can now be made within the interface for processing if you want to extract the iframes, for instance, and get those out for processing. Again, simply click and select. It's going to open our folder, and within there you'll see a subfolder with the original file name and all of our iframes exported from that particular file, starting with 0 through 10. So 11 iframes in this particular cell phone video file were extracted. And how would we validate? Well, we could run a frame analysis report and open that frame analysis report to check out how many iframes are actually seen in this particular file. If you're familiar with the FFmpeg sample and frame analysis report, it is a tremendous resource and one of the only ways to identify some of the metadata from multimedia files. It is an XML output, so you need a spreadsheet, like I was saying, a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel that can parse XML. However, we included our own XML viewer with this process. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose that frame report and run that to show you our new XML report viewer. So we can maximize this out and see all of the fields from this particular report. Might be easier to view this way for you guys. Minimize this. Down below, all of our samples listed. We can choose to show video and audio or unselect the audio to see only our video samples. All of our columns from that particular report are available and adjustable. So if you click columns down here, you can choose which fields you want to display in this particular report and view. You can also apply custom color coding to the types of frames and samples. So 11 iframes identified in this report, 299 P frames, 0 B frames, and you can apply custom colors by simply selecting a particular color and applying those. Now, all of this information provided down below in this frame section is general information based on the XML output. I say that because it is provided for convenience only. Whatever tool we're using, we need to validate. This GOP number is simply doing a calculation of the XML output and saying our GOP is 83. Validate that, right? So you need to make sure you're validating everything in a forensic environment. From an investigative processing perspective, it's a tremendously helpful tool to have this ability right within the field on your Omnivore thumb drive. So we hope you like the new viewer. I should point out that you can also just drag and drop that particular export. Here's my XML file that I just created, and I could then drop that onto my XML viewer to reopen it at any time. Whoop. Select and drag and drop over to reopen that viewer and review my report. So that is our new XML, FFmpeg XML viewer with Omnivore viewer, and a very, very handy tool to have when processing out in the field. What about batch processing? He says, well, interesting that we have provided a way to simply drag and drop files. So I can drag and drop any file, as I pointed out, into the Omnivore viewer interface. If FFmpeg can parse it, it'll launch our interface. So for instance, here's that Samsung SEC file. It can see it, of course, provide us some general information. In this particular case, what are some of the issues with processing proprietary files regardless of the tool you're using? If that tool doesn't understand the container, what could we be missing? Well, we could be missing a lot of metadata. We could be missing entire streams, things of that nature. So remember, always validate. FFmpeg is a tool, and we have to validate our processes. Extremely helpful in doing that. I can play back this SEC file. We see it was recorded at a field-based resolution. So I can play it back. I could process this, export it out, correct my aspect ratio, etc. But let's look at batch processing this entire folder with all of these different files. I'm just going to drag that entire folder into the interface, and boom, I now have a list of every file in that folder. And as I select it, my preview will be displayed. So we can move over and see what types of codecs are used, the dimensions reported, and preview those files using FFplay. So if I wanted to simply run container and streams reports on the entire batch, I'll run it right into here, my exports folder, and click OK. And it's going to go through and process all of those reports and save those in with the original file name, the probe text information. So all of my probe information for each of those files saved out individually. We can go through in detail to review our metadata on those particular files. This is capability that is on the Omnivore thumb drive in the field on any Windows system. It's a tremendous resource. That XML file is how we troubleshoot a lot of playback, editing issues, things of that nature with video. So of course, forensic analysts know the power of this particular tool, FFmpeg, but as with any tool, there are limitations, and you need to be aware of both the strengths and limitations and leverage those accordingly. So multiple selections, we can also do things like change dimensions. Let's look at changing the dimensions of a file here. This is from a CCTV system recorded as 960H. We can see 960 by 480. Aspect is reported as 2.0, but we know that not to be correct, right? So stored at a 960H storage dimensions. However, this is definitely not the correct aspect ratio. We could use our change dimensions feature to address this and come out as a 640 by 480. And put that into my exports folder. And click OK. Oop. Let's do it as a lossless H.264. My apologies. And then click OK. And we'll output a lossless H.264 file, aspect ratio corrected to 640 by 480. For more information on that, we have also included our aspect ratio chart in the help files on this release. So if we go into the export folder, here is our lossless file. I'll open this with VLC. Just going to right click, open with VLC media player, and there's our file, 640 by 480 output. Now, of course, we can save our log as well. So getting aspect ratio images and videos out on the street quickly and easily from these digital CCTV systems, FFmpeg and FFmpeg Convert are going to produce humongous time savings under a number of scenarios. This is just one of those. So that is our change dimensions feature. We can also, of course, change our output frame rate, simply typing in the frame rate that we want to put things out to. And we can also now trim. So to trim, the process involves selecting the trim option, then clicking the play button, and you'll notice a running time code down at the bottom of the video. This is the time code that needs to be referenced when trimming. So the exact time code needs to be entered where you'd like to start your trim and where you would like to end your trim. So 2443, 24241. And then maybe I want to go to 2443, 26342. Once we've entered these numbers, I can go ahead and close my FFplay and process my output as lossless H.264. Click OK. Output file is selected and output. So trimming video files using time code, changing the frame rates, changing dimensions, all new to the interface, basic metadata, our audio extraction, as well as the ability to interrogate our media. So this container and streams and the probe report are one of the most important aspects this particular tool, in my opinion. Now, we have a lot of different ways of getting to answers in our field, a lot of different tools out there, many of them not built for a particular purpose. It's important to understand that FFmpeg isn't a forensic tool, but neither are 90% of the tools that we use, probably higher, in our workflows. So validation is important. FFmpeg, as you may know, when processing proprietary files, defaults to 25 frames per second if it can determine the frame rate of that original stream. So let's say we wanted to work with a proprietary file in particular. We can do the old drag and drop, but I should point out that even if FFmpeg can't parse the file or see the file, if I go to the All Files options, well, now I can go and start to see. So for instance, let's go into that sample media folder. If I'm looking at just supported files, we're not going to see those proprietary files and extensions because FFmpeg doesn't support those containers. That should be a red flag, regardless of the tool you're using, right? So, but if you would like to try and process this file, go to All Files and you'll see all files in the particular folder where you can then attempt to see if FFmpeg will parse the streams contained in that file. This is going to vary depending on the source, how the file was encoded, how the streams were encoded, etc. This is a ever-focused file here, a .avr file recorded at a field-based resolution. But there's actually two cameras in this particular stream. So again, interrogating your media, running that sample report, you can go through and see every single frame from that particular stream and all of the metadata related to that particular frame. So you see how it went from this 704 by 240 to this 352 file, which is another channel of that particular recorder recording at a different resolution. So again, whenever we're working with proprietary containers, it's very, very important to understand what we're missing. From an investigative processing standpoint, very helpful. Of course, I can get actionable information out on the street. I want to put this to an aspect ratio correct size. I can do that. I could just go, okay, let's make this 640 by 480. Let's put it out as a lossless H.264. Got it going to my exports folder, or extract iframes 640 by 4 and get images out on the street right away, so on and so forth. Just want to make sure that's the only thing I have selected. Change dimensions, okay. We'll let that cook. And our output will be a lossless H.264 file resized to the aspect ratio correct image size. Well, how do you know aspect ratio correct image sizes from digital CCTV cameras? Again, I mentioned that's a pretty long topic, but in our help files now, when you go to the help files, you'll find that we have included the video standards and aspect ratio chart we put out for you years back, which discusses 4:3 display aspect ratio pixel matrices for various video standards. So it's a nice little cheat sheet to give you an idea of how to properly display various video files aspect ratio correct. So for instance, DVD video standard includes a 352 by 480. Should it be displayed that way? Of course not. It should be displayed 4:3, 640 by 480. So this sheet can be very, very handy as well, of course, and is included there for your reference. Once the process is completed, again, I can save my log and save all of that output. Let's go take a look at my actual output in that exports folder. And we should have had the AVR, right? AVR lossless. So open this with VLC, and there's my aspect ratio corrected image. You'll notice aspect ratio now appears to be correct. Look at our text all squished up there because it was an overlay embedded into the actual image, but our images are more aspect ratio correct after making that correction, so we can get some accurate information out on the street right away with FFmpeg Convert. So we've talked about the majority of the new features we have provided with the FFmpeg Convert, particularly the ability to export audio, the new FFprobe reports, so we can interrogate our media right there on the scene, determine how best to process it, get aspect ratio correct images or videos out on the street right away, and then do further interrogation and processing from the forensic side, whether that's you or someone further down in your workflow. Let's not forget about Omnivore Field Kit either. Speaking of workflow in the field, Omnivore Field Kit, quick and easy to use, plug and play, capture uncompressed from just about anything that'll put out video via VGA, DVI, HDMI, S-video, and composite sources. We can capture that uncompressed and get actionable information out on the street within just 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the system. I simply show up on scene, disconnect the monitor output from the DVR, connect our cable to our USB bridge to my laptop, and my laptop is now the display for that DVR. I can do uncompressed screen captures, images to document. I can grab images of the actual suspect, get those out on the street right away while we investigate the system and try to get to that native file and best evidence. As far as documentation goes, the Omnivore Field Kit is one of the easiest ways to document DVR recovery according to best practices, or living up to best practices, which includes documenting, of course, all of those detailed setting screens that we have in these DVRs. If we're just clicking through them and video recording the entire process, everything's documented quick and easy for you. So the Omnivore Field Kits, of course, very, very helpful for expediting access to actionable information and documenting those digital CCTV recoveries. Well, what if you have an older Omnivore drive, USB 2, 32 gig drives? Of course, flash drives are limited write media. They are going to go bad over time, and in this case, we do have a drive upgrade program in place, and that upgrade program is $449 for upgrading your hardware and renewing your support, or just replacing the drive, only $199, and we'll replace your 2.0 drive with a newer 3.0 drive, double your storage capacity on that device. If you're not in support or to renew your support, $199 a year for the annual support currently on Omnivore. Now that may change as we're planning a number of new features and further development down this line. If you're not in support, it'll cost you an extra $100 the first time to get back into support. But lots of options, all of them available on our Omnivore product page. So if we go back to the website, get up to Omnivore, you'll see all of those options listed on our Omnivore product page, support, contract renewals, so on and so forth. So pretty easy to access all of that stuff. What else have we been up to lately? Well, we have a QuickDME 3.5 released a few months ago, which also introduced FFmpeg to our QuickDME digital asset management program and processing program now. Our send to information, we've added all of the FFmpeg capabilities that we show you in FFmpeg Convert, plus a couple more. We've got the ability to rewrap to MP4, hash every frame, hash primary streams, things of that nature. So you bring the asset in, can send it out to FFmpeg, and bring that derivative back into QuickDME. Quick and easy, everything's documented, including the logs from FFmpeg, brought back in automatically. Another big feature in 3.5 was the note-taking capability that we added, so we can add notes to every ingest, we can add notes on a case, HTML formatted notes. We can quickly and easily throw notes on frames. So when we're reviewing video files inside of QuickDME, we can play those files back, click the little frame icon, and type in our note and produce notes that we can output as a PDF or HTML file. So that Quick View video player continues to be able to parse and play more and more video files as we progress. But really the strength, one of the many strengths of QuickDME, of course, is the detailed auditing from an asset management solution. Who can access, who can view, so on and so forth. And one of the things that our customers shout about, of course, are those reporting and statistics. It's great to be able to have someone say, hey, what types of cases are we processing? What types of evidence do we have for each types of crime? How much evidence did we ingest and store, digital evidence, whether it's, computer forensic evidence, so on and so forth, mobile forensics. How much did we ingest last year? How much storage are we using? All of that is available quickly and easily with an asset management program like QuickDME, a very detailed auditing and reporting that has proven extremely advantageous for a number of our customers. What else have we been up to? Well, Detective 8.1 released recently. Detective 8.1 released earlier this year, where we made some huge performance improvements to the developer. Developer is our frame averaging solution, one of our flagship tools leveraged in Avid Media Composer. Now it's easier than ever to apply frame averaging from an investigative standpoint, link to file in Avid Media Composer, drop developer on it, lasso an area, and see if frame averaging is going to be helpful. We have improved the performance so much that it is a very, very quick and easy process to probably the quickest way to apply frame averaging to not just high resolution media, but any particular media, and see whether or not that process is going to be helpful. Spotlight and Redact. Well, Spotlight was updated to include 4 targets in one plugin. So when we're tracking individuals, obscuring individuals, things of that nature, we can now do that with 4 different targets in one effect, and of course still stack those effects. So if we need to track and more than 4, we can nest those effects and do even more with Spotlight. Additionally, we recently released Detective for Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects Beta. It is a beta release really designed for our current Detective 8.1 customers. So if you're currently unlocked with Detective 8.1, you can download the Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects Detective Beta and install that. It'll work on Premiere Pro and After Effects from CS6 up to CC 2019. So our Clear ID filters, as well as 4 of the core detective filters now available inside Adobe Premiere and After Effects. We encourage our customers to check out that beta as well. Speaking of new, just yesterday, new information came in. We have been using the HP ZBook mobile workstations for many years. Some of the best hardware as far as laptops go, an actual workstation grade laptop that includes things like 9th Gen Core i7 processors, Xeon processor options, 64 gig of DDR4, multiple M2 slots, NVIDIA Quattro dedicated graphics, 6 gig, USB Type-C ports, just tremendous processing systems for a mobile workstation. And that docking option, I just can't say enough good things about. I use a mobile workstation as my primary workstation. I have multiple displays set up in my office, and I simply connect one cable to my dock, or from my dock to my laptop, lights up my network, all my other external ports and displays all light up. So it's a quick and easy way to leverage that mobility and have the power of an actual standalone tower or rack mount system from us. What else? Well, we've also introduced a brand new 3-day Fundamentals of Video Evidence for Investigations course. This course is really designed for investigators, patrol, anyone who touches video evidence throughout the process, whether they're brand new to video, video training, video evidence or not, have experience. This 3-day class is really geared towards discussing best practices, providing fundamentals on how video works, but predominantly it's all hands-on processing. How do we get information out on the street accurately and quickly using tools like Omnivore, Omnivore Viewers, FFmpeg Convert, Clear ID, so on and so forth. So that 3-day class is designed for anyone, even those brand new to video, as well as we had some experienced technicians and analysts in the first session earlier this year that really quite enjoyed the class. And said, hey, you guys just get it. We're trying to help alleviate some of the workflow issues a lot of agencies are facing with training and acquisition of this type of evidence. So we hope you'll check that class out. And that is about, we have any questions coming in there, Charles? How are we doing?
I had just the one. Usually people wait to see what you're not going to cover and then start to chime in with the questions. So if anybody's got any questions out there, now would be a good time. Well done, Larry. You covered everything I could think of. I guess that's
a little faster than I planned, but
I might have missed. Did you do a batch process in Omnivore?
I did.
We cover?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I can go back.
Turned away. That's okay. I must have not been looking at the screen at the moment.
Sure.
So we can, we have no questions, that just means you touched on everything that anybody could have been interested in.
Well, excellent. Excellent. I appreciate that. I think I do want to point out our website again, but you can go there obviously for videos, FAQs, downloads, but proposal forms, instant quotes. But the latest, greatest thing is our customer listserv we started a few years ago. If you visit our website, you'll see a link to join the customer listserv over on the left-hand side. I refer to this group as our insiders. These are customers. It is a closed listserv, but these are our customers. So it's your opportunity to discuss, with folks using like products, as well as us to push out information regarding products and training. And that is the first place that we do it, is to our customers via that listserv. So we hope you'll take a look at that. Real quick on the website, I do want to point out a few other things since we have time, and that is our new support center. So under the support center, if you haven't been to our site in a while, you'll see all of our contact information, but direct access to our product downloads, a list of exactly what's new in our solutions portfolio. So you can see the latest releases for everything. You can also get to the downloads. This is a page that'll list all of the downloads. These are also available and listed on the actual individual product pages for those tabs. And our knowledge base. So our knowledge base continues to expand, of course, and we've been leveraging this to add new FAQs and questions that come in. We hope you'll find that helpful to address some of the general information out there, our questions out there. Twitter, of course, at Ocean Systems. That's generally the second place we post information. Once we put it out on our customer listserv, we get it out on Twitter and LinkedIn and things of that nature. And of course, our site for staying up on top of the training and all of those types of aspects. So under training, you'll see the offerings we have. Which courses. We currently offer 3 in-person training classes, our 101 5-day class, which is essentially an introduction to forensic video using Ocean Systems Detective Suite. And then we have a 3-day investigative class, that new class I talked about, as well as our 2-day DVR recovery class, and we provide live training online. So we have a 4-hour introduction class to ClearID where myself or another certified analyst will walk you through the ClearID interface, teach you the basics within that 4-hour live one-on-one instructor-led training. And we can do custom online or remote training as well. Again, one-on-one with a certified expert on various topics, from our products to fundamental issues on processing video, all their open source solutions, and things of that nature. So we hope you'll check out all of the training options available. And that's about what I had, Charles. Anything else to add?
We got some questions about native hard drive access, which I quickly answered. What if I just have the hard drive? I said you get a write blocker and mount it and access the data that way. If you have a computer forensics unit within your department, they'd be familiar with how to image drives and do that type of thing. And then there was a follow-up. If the data is raw stream format, then?
So just to be clear, let me go back here in the slides, because it sounds like what we're referring to is possibly the Omnivore Field Kit. So let's take a look at that real quick. Here we go, Omnivore Field Kit, right? So our Omnivore Field Kit is an uncompressed video capture from the output device. It's one of the 7 general methods of recovering from a digital CCTV source. It is not getting the native files, and in all of our training and documentation, we express that explicitly, repeatedly, because native files are always going to be your best evidence. But as anyone who's been doing this for any amount of time knows, collecting native files according to best practices can be a very time-consuming process. So where our field kit can help is with getting actionable information out on the street a lot quicker, with documenting that process, and in some cases with getting video that you can't get via the native or any other way. So maybe it's a centrally stored type of scenario. If they can play the video on scene, well, you can at least get an uncompressed copy out for investigative purposes while you requisition those original native files from the centrally located corporate headquarters. We do not provide a way to actually image a hard drive. That's not what the field kit does. We're a screen capture solution that provides a number of the conveniences we've talked about. So the question in regards to data in a raw stream format, with the field kit, again, screen capture, so we're capturing a signal. We have another release that has been in the works for some time, but has been put on the back burner due to other bigger issues like the FFmpeg Convert we thought would make a lot more value for our customers. But the next release of the field kit viewer software will actually, rather than screen capturing the signal sent across that VGA, DVI, HDMI, S-video composite, rather than screen capturing, if it's a digital source, it's simply going to store that data directly to file. So that would be a raw stream of the video output. Now understand, that's the video output, not a raw stream from the original file. So again, multiple steps in the process. Excellent. I see that. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate that. And that looks like all the questions. So that is all I had for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your valuable time. We really appreciate it, and hope you'll check out additional information on our website. Certainly don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. Charles, anything before we go?
I think that covered it. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we've staying busy over here, coming out with new powerful tools. We got lots more in store, so until we meet next time.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.